Welcome to Royal Empire, your go-to place for the latest royal news and insider palace stories. Today, we have a jaw-dropping revelation that will challenge everything you thought you knew about Harry and Meghan. A former insider has come forward, and her testimony changes everything. This isn't just any ordinary claim. What she has to say will shake the very core of the story we've been told. Be sure to subscribe right now, because this is a story everyone will be talking about. Hit that subscribe button, and let's dive right in. Meghan's former nanny, some sources refer to her as the housemaid, has finally stepped forward. And the moment she opened her mouth, everything we thought we knew about them shattered. According to her, she lived inside their California mansion long enough to see the truth behind the polished images, the soft documentaries, the carefully curated family moments, and those staged smiles. Nothing, the family, the pregnancies, the idea of a warm home, matched what people were led to believe. She claims she witnessed things that were never meant for the public eye, including a massive argument that shook the house. She says the fight left Harry walking through the halls as if he didn't know which version of his life was real anymore. Let me pause right here and explain exactly who this woman is and why her testimony matters so much. This isn't just some random person making wild claims from a distance. She actually worked inside their Montecito mansion, the private home where Harry and Meghan have been living since they left the UK. She was employed as a nanny or housemaid, depending on who you ask, but what's clear is that she had direct, daily access to the home. She wasn't there for a few hours or for a quick visit. She lived in the house, working long 12-hour shifts, 5 days a week, for several months. That means she saw the real, unfiltered daily life of Harry and Meghan when the cameras weren't rolling, when there were no photographers outside, when it was just them and their staff behind closed doors. And what she saw, according to her, was nothing like the image the public has been shown through their media appearances, Netflix series, or social media posts. Now, before we go deeper into this bombshell, make sure you hit that subscribe button for Royal Empire. We are the only channel brave enough to bring you exclusive insider testimonies and investigations that the mainstream media refuses to cover. Turn on all notifications because we are dropping new evidence and updates every day. This story is just beginning, and you don't want to miss a single update. Subscribe now, and let's uncover the truth together. But the most shocking part of this woman's testimony isn't even about the arguments, the tension, or even Meghan herself. It's about what she didn't see. She says that after months of working there, 12-hour shifts, 5 days a week, she never once saw Archie or Lilibet. Never. Not a cry, not a laugh, not a single toy left out of place. Nothing that proves small children actually lived inside that massive mansion. And now, with her silence broken, one question is louder than ever. If Meghan's own nanny never saw the children, why has the world rarely seen them either? Now, think about what this means for a moment. A nanny's job is entirely focused on the children. That's the reason you hire a nanny, to care for your kids. Feed them, bathe them, play with them, put them to bed, watch over them. So, if someone is hired as a nanny in a home where young children are supposedly living, you would expect that person to interact with them constantly. In a normal household, the nanny would be the person who spends the most time with the kids, especially if the parents are busy with work or other commitments. But this woman says that despite her long hours of work, she never saw Archie or Lilibet, not once. Not in the morning, not during the day, and not at night. And it wasn't just that she didn't interact with them. She says there were no signs that children lived there. No baby bottles in the sink. No diapers in the trash. No baby monitors, cribs, or high chairs. Nothing. For anyone who spent time around young kids or has children of their own, you know that's simply impossible. Kids leave traces of their existence everywhere. But according to this nanny, the Montecito mansion was eerily devoid of any sign that children lived there. Before anyone ever set foot in that mansion as a nanny, they had to get through one of the most unusual hiring processes the staff had ever seen. Sources close to the hiring described Meghan's demands as strange and restrictive. First, she wanted a nanny who wasn't too attractive, not glamorous, not polished. Someone who wouldn't stand out in photos or take attention away from Meghan. The goal was simple: blend into the background. In a house built around a specific image, even the staff had to disappear. But that wasn't all. The real rules came later. Candidates had to be available 24 hours a day, couldn't have a partner, couldn't have children of their own, and had to be willing to move at a moment's notice without asking why. This wasn't just a job, it was a complete lifestyle change. Now, Let's talk about why this hiring process is so bizarre and what it says about how Harry and Meghan's household operates. The requirement about physical appearance is especially interesting. Most employers can't legally discriminate based on someone's looks, but Meghan insisted that the nanny shouldn't be attractive enough to draw attention. This wasn't about finding the best person for the job. It was about maintaining control over the household image. Meghan wanted to make sure that even within her home, she remained the center of attention. The staff had to literally blend in. But the physical appearance requirement was just the beginning. Being available 24 hours a day means you essentially have no life of your own. You can't have a partner, and you have to be willing to move without question. This isn't a normal job. It's a complete takeover of your personal life. It raises a lot of questions about what life inside that mansion really looks like. This woman's testimony shines a light on what goes on behind closed doors at Harry and Meghan's mansion, and it's nothing like the image we've been shown. The questions keep piling up, and this story is far from over. You can't make plans with friends or family because you might be called to work at any moment. You can't pursue hobbies or interests because all your time belongs to your employer. The requirement that nannies couldn't have a partner is especially strange and invasive. Why would it matter if someone has a boyfriend or husband? Because having a partner means you have someone in your life to talk to, someone to confide in about what you see at work. It's another control mechanism to ensure complete loyalty and silence. The requirement that nannies couldn't have children of their own is equally telling. Perhaps Meghan didn't want anyone who might compare her parenting to their own experience or question the decisions being made about the children. Are you starting to see how deep this goes? This isn't just some wild gossip. This is a systematic pattern of control and secrecy. If you're not subscribed to Royal Empire yet, you're missing out on some of the most thorough investigations into royal scandals. We don't just skim the headlines. We dig deep, analyze the evidence, and connect the dots to show you what's really happening behind the scenes. Hit that subscribe button right now, turn on notifications, and join the thousands of viewers who trust Royal Empire for the unfiltered truth. Now, before they ever shook Meghan or Harry's hand, potential nannies underwent one of the most unusual tests of all. The Sussex mansion may have looked peaceful from the outside, sprawling gardens, soft sunlight, and picture-perfect views. But according to those who worked inside, it operated more like a controlled environment. The trial shift wasn't just about demonstrating child care skills. It was a silent audition, monitored from every angle. Hidden cameras recorded everything: how candidates spoke, how they handled stress, how they interacted with the chef or cleaners. Even the smallest mistake was captured on tape. By the time a nanny sat across from Meghan and Harry, decisions had already been made. The interview was just a final check to confirm the woman in the room behaved exactly like the one they saw on the footage. Inside that home, nothing happened without being seen. Nothing was private. Nothing was natural. It was a household built on control. Let me break down what this surveillance system reveals about the Sussex household, because it's absolutely crucial to understanding the full picture. Installing hidden cameras to secretly record every movement, every word, every interaction with other staff members. This is not normal. In most homes, when you're interviewing someone for a job, you might ask them to do a few tasks to demonstrate their skills and observe them directly. But hidden cameras? That's surveillance usually reserved for high-security government facilities or corporate espionage. So what does this tell us? It tells us that Meghan and Harry, sources suggest this is primarily Meghan's doing, don't trust anyone. They assume everyone might be a threat, a potential leak, or someone who could expose something they want kept hidden. They're not just looking for someone competent at childcare. They're looking for someone who can be completely controlled. Someone who will follow orders without question. Someone who will maintain absolute secrecy about whatever they witness inside that home. And think about what they were watching for. Not just how the candidate interacted with children. Remember, those children were apparently never seen anyway, but how they spoke to other staff members like the chef or cleaners. Why would that matter? Because they wanted to know if this person was someone who asked questions, who made conversation, who might form bonds with other employees and potentially share information. They were building a staff of isolated individuals who don't talk to each other about what they see, ensuring no one can piece together a complete picture of what's really happening inside their house. Soon, the staff would learn that this control stretched far beyond the hiring process and into the very heart of the family's most private life. Long before the public ever caught wind of anything unusual, tension had already been building inside the Sussex household, and it began with something as simple as choosing a nanny. Prince Harry had grown up under the care of a Norland nanny, the gold standard of royal childcare. Norland nannies are disciplined, discreet, and trained to protect both a child and a family's image with absolute loyalty. Naturally, Harry wanted the same stability for his own children. But Meghan didn't want that world. Not the uniforms, not the structure, not the traditions that came with it. She wanted something different, something more modern, more flexible, and more California-inspired. She wanted a nanny who felt like family, not like staff. No outdated routines, no royal fingerprints, nothing that tied her new household to the old one. This disagreement might sound small, but inside the mansion, it was the start of a quiet divide. Harry leaned toward tradition, while Meghan leaned toward total reinvention. And from that moment forward, every child care decision reflected her vision, not his. The message was clear. The old rules were gone. The Sussex home would function by Meghan's design alone. This conflict over hiring a Norland nanny versus a California-style nanny is actually a microcosm of the larger power dynamic in Harry and Meghan's relationship. It reveals who truly calls the shots, who really makes the decisions, and how the family structure operates behind closed doors. Meghan wasn't just shaping the role of a nanny, she was shaping the entire direction of their household. Norland nannies represent something specific. They're trained at the prestigious Norland College in England, and they wear recognizable uniforms. They follow established protocols that have been used by royal families and wealthy aristocratic families for generations. They're professional, experienced, and known for their absolute discretion. Harry grew up with a Norland nanny, and by all accounts, he has fond memories of that care. So it makes perfect sense that he would want that same quality and consistency for his own children. But Meghan rejected this completely. Why? On the surface, she framed it as wanting something more modern and flexible, something that reflected California values rather than stuffy British tradition. But look deeper, and you'll see what this was really about. It was about Meghan asserting complete control over her household and rejecting anything that connected to Harry's past, his family, or his heritage. A Norland nanny would have been someone with independent authority based on their training and experience. They would have followed established childcare protocols that have been proven over generations. They might have had opinions about how things should be done, and they would have had the confidence and backing to share those opinions. Meghan didn't want that. She wanted someone who would follow her instructions without question. Someone who owed their loyalty entirely to her. Someone with no connection to the royal world that might create a competing source of authority in her home. But even with all this planning, something still didn't add up. Because even after building the perfect childcare system around her preferences, no one ever actually saw the children. When the maid talks about her time serving the Sussexes, she doesn't exaggerate or guess. She simply describes what she saw every single day. She arrived before sunrise. She left around 8 p.m. She moved through every room, every hallway, every corner of the home. And in all that time, she never saw Archie. Not once. She never saw Lilibet. Not once. Let me really emphasize this point, because it's the heart of this entire revelation. This woman worked in that house for months. Not days, not weeks, but months. She was there from before sunrise until 8 p.m., which means she was there during all the times when young children would be awake and active. Toddlers and young children typically wake up early, between 6 and 7 a.m. They are active throughout the morning. They have lunch, nap in the afternoon, and then are active again in the evening before bedtime around 7 or 8 p.m. This nanny's schedule covered all of those hours. She wasn't working a night shift when the kids would be asleep. She was there during prime kid hours. And during all that time, across all those months, she never saw either child. Not once. Not a glimpse. Not a sound. Nothing. She didn't even see signs that children lived there. No baby socks on the laundry table. No picture books on the floor. No snacks left half-eaten. No stroller by the door. Not even a stray crayon under the couch. Homes with little children always carry a certain kind of joyful chaos. Toys appear in places they don't belong. Fingerprints show up on glass. Baby monitors hum quietly in the background. But this home? It was silent. Almost too perfect, as if the idea of children existed there, but the children themselves did not. Anyone who has spent time around young children, whether as a parent, grandparent, aunt, uncle, or just visiting friends with kids, knows exactly what a house with young children looks like. It's impossible to keep perfectly clean and organized, because kids are constantly playing, eating, moving around, and leaving little traces of their presence everywhere. Even the most organized, neat parents with the best-behaved children will have some evidence of kid life scattered around. A sippy cup on the kitchen counter. A teddy bear on the couch. Board books piled on the coffee table. A basket of toys in the living room. Cheerios mysteriously stuck to the bottom of your shoe. Children's artwork hung on the refrigerator. A potty training seat in the bathroom. The smell of baby wipes or diaper cream. Little fingerprints and handprints on windows and mirrors that you just cleaned yesterday. This is normal. This is what life with young children looks like. But according to this maid, the Montecito mansion had none of this. It was pristine, quiet, perfect, almost like a showroom or a museum, not a family home with 2 young children. This testimony is absolutely explosive, and Royal Empire is the channel bringing it directly to you with the analysis and context you need to understand what it means. If you value this kind of fearless, thorough journalism, you need to stay with us. We are not backed by royal PR teams or influenced by palace pressure. We report the truth no matter who it exposes. The maid says the silence became so noticeable that it almost felt loud. Day after day, she expected something to break the stillness, a cry, a laugh, even a tiny footstep, but nothing ever did. And then came the detail that shook everything even more. The maid had grown used to keeping quiet. The rules inside the Sussex mansion were strict, and privacy was enforced like a law. But when the Netflix documentary finally came out, she watched it out of simple curiosity, wondering how the home she knew so well would be shown to the world. She expected small edits or pretty lighting, but what she didn't expect was an entirely different reality. This is where the testimony becomes truly damning, because now we are not just talking about what she didn't see. We are talking about what the public was shown versus what she knows to be true from living inside their house. When Harry and Meghan's Netflix documentary was released, it was presented as an intimate, authentic look inside their lives. The whole point of the documentary was supposedly to show the real Harry and Meghan, the people behind the royal titles, living their genuine daily lives in California. The public was meant to believe they were seeing actual, unfiltered moments from the Sussex household. But this maid, who actually lived in that house during the relevant time period, says that what appeared in the documentary was not real. It wasn't the house she knew. It wasn't the life she witnessed. It was a carefully constructed fiction designed to create a false narrative for public consumption. Scene after scene flashed across the screen, Meghan cradling a belly, Harry laughing as he chased children through bright gardens. Moments of joy captured in soft, slow motion. But to the maid, something was wrong. The rooms were different. The angles didn't match. The shots of Meghan pregnant could not have been filmed during the time she worked there. In the garden scenes, those cheerful clips of Harry and Meghan letting chickens roam while Archie ran around felt like a fairy tale, one she had never witnessed. Let's analyze this piece by piece, because each element is significant. First, the maid says the rooms shown in the documentary were different from the rooms in the actual house. This isn't about camera angles making things look slightly different. She's saying the rooms themselves, the layout, the furniture, the decoration, none of it matched the Montecito mansion. This suggests that at least some scenes in the supposedly authentic documentary were filmed in a different location entirely. Perhaps a rented house or a different property altogether. This new revelation casts serious doubt on the credibility of the documentary. What the public was shown may not have been the reality at all. Instead, it looks like carefully curated fiction, designed to sell a specific narrative of the Sussexes' life, one that may have little to do with the truth of what actually happened inside the house. The house is now revealing the truth. The children may not be living there at all. The house is designed to maintain an illusion, a meticulously crafted, carefully controlled public image. Every piece of evidence, every interaction, every moment is controlled, restricted, and curated to fit a specific narrative that Harry and Meghan want the world to see. But according to someone who actually lived there, the reality is starkly different. The extreme measures taken to protect this image suggest that the truth of what's happening behind closed doors is something far more complex, something they want to keep hidden. The house was filled with surveillance and security, but devoid of the typical, noisy chaos of children. No cries, no toys scattered around, no signs of children's presence whatsoever. And yet, public-facing images, like the Netflix documentary, show a life full of warmth, playfulness, and family moments. Scenes that were staged, not captured in real life, made to look like spontaneous memories of a happy family living in Montecito. What we are seeing here isn't just a difference in how life is portrayed, it's a complete disconnect from the truth. The entire system, hidden cameras, strict rules about who could work there, the extreme secrecy about what happens behind those gates, suggest something is being deliberately obscured. What else is being kept hidden? What else are they working so hard to ensure the world doesn't see? As we piece together all these details, the silence in the house, the lack of children's presence, the staged documentary scenes, the overly controlled environment, it becomes impossible to ignore the one glaring question: what is really happening in that house? The more we learn, the more the evidence points to something far more calculated than a simple desire for privacy. This is a carefully orchestrated narrative meant to hide the truth from the public. And perhaps the most telling part of all this, the people involved in crafting this story, the nannies, the staff, the crew, are all trained, professional, and experienced enough to know when they're being manipulated. They're now coming forward with their testimonies. The story they have to tell is one the public was never meant to hear. Royal Empire is here to bring you these exclusive revelations, the stories the mainstream media refuses to touch, and the deep dives into the lives of the most high-profile figures in the world. The truth is out there, and we are committed to bringing it to light. If this investigation has opened your eyes to the hidden layers of this royal mystery, stay tuned. There's more to come. We'll continue to follow every lead, uncover every hidden detail, and bring you the facts that others won't. The story is just beginning, and you don't want to miss what's coming next. Thanks for being with us, and for trusting Royal Empire to reveal the truth, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.